Okay, hey everybody, Teching and Barry back again, and today we're going to be doing another live-action discussion video. While I'm in live-action, check me out. You know, normally when I film these videos, I'm in 2 dimensions. Sometimes I'm even in 1 dimension. You'd be amazed what editing is capable of. But today, for this video specifically, I am in 3 dimensions. And so is Luffy, okay? We have Luffy over here as played by Iñaki Godoy, and I am pronouncing his name correctly, right? I used to say Inaki, and then somebody that was actually Spanish said it's actually more of like a nya, so Iñaki. And I just hope I'm getting their names as close as possible to their actual pronunciations. Damn it, this is the one moment in my life I kind of wish I passed Spanish in high school. My Spanish teacher in high school, I failed by like 11 points and she still let me go, like past me, just because it would have caused issues. Like, okay, look, I'll pass you, but you really failed this class. And this is the one instance in my life where I'm like, damn it, I wish I would have done better at Spanish. Anyway, but yeah, over here we have Iñaki Godoy playing Luffy, and as you can see down there, August 31st is when the live action will premiere on Netflix. So I'm filming this right now on August 21st, so we only have 10 days, less than 10 days, honestly, by the time you're watching this, until the premiere. So this is probably going to be the last video I shoot before we get to the actual series, and I'll be doing episode breakdowns, reviews, discussions, whatever you want to call them. I'll be doing videos on each episode of the live action when it's released. That's what I'll be doing. I don't know what I'll title them yet. But this was just, they came out with a video that was like a behind the scenes sort of thing, and there's some stills that I'm going to show you from that. I'll leave a link to that below in the description, so go check that out for the whole video there of the behind the scenes. Maybe I might make another video of something else really big happens right before the premiere, maybe like the eve before the premiere. Maybe I'll do a video, but other than that, this might just be it until we actually get that. So first big thing is we have these awesome posters of all the 5 principal Straw Hats. We have Luffy, we got Zoro as played by Makenyu, we got Nami played by Emily Rudd, we got Usopp played by Jacob Romero Gibson, and we got Sanji played by Taz Skylar. I think I got all of their names on lockdown, which was that was my homework for this, just remembering at least the principal cast's names, because I'm gonna need that knowledge when I start reviewing the actual show, okay? By the way, I just realized they gave Sanji an awesome ring. I don't believe Sanji wears a ring in the series, so they swapped out the eyebrows for a ring. I love it. He actually looks really fly here. I'm liking the design on that. Okay, so 5 principal Straw Hats. We've met them already before. The chemistry between the cast seems really good, so I have no problems with the principal cast. I think they're gonna do fine. And like I said before plenty of times, like, I don't think if this is going to have any problems, the live action, I don't think the casting is really going to be an issue, especially not the casting for the Straw Hats. I think that's as pretty much perfect as you could make it with this cast that we have here. They actually also, I'm a big fan of Wired, and I subscribe to their YouTube channel, and they all just did a like a Wired question and answer segment where they answer a bunch of questions from the series, and actually stuff from the series. Like, there were questions on there. There was one question that Iñaki answered that was, who is stronger than Goldie Roger? And Luffy was like, oh, I know this. I mean, Iñaki's like, I know this. It's Roxy Zebek. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, you know what? You could make that argument. I mean, Rox and had to be defeated by Garp and Roger teaming up, so the logic is that you know, Roger could not have taken Rox on his own. But there's a lot of debate about that. But I'm not going to go into that discussion right there. But they answer those questions, so I'll leave that as a link in the description as well. All of the links down below. But yeah, principal cast looking awesome. So let's move on to this shot right here. This is just like a candid photo from the set that I really like. You have Emily and Taz and Makenyu just hanging out there next to, I guess, Emily's trailer that just says Nami on the trailer. That's really cool. And this is in between scenes, I guess. From what I hear about being an actor, especially if you're an actor playing a main character in a television show or a movie, most of the time you spend is like in your trailer just kind of waiting. Like, I guess you'll show up to set, you'll get your makeup and costume and everything done, and then it could be hours until they actually need you for something. I don't know. I've never really been in a movie. Well, okay, I technically was one time. I was in a movie, and you know what? There was a lot of waiting for that. I remember I got there around 10 o'clock, and we didn't actually start filming until like 6. So most of the day I just hung out in this little bed and breakfast hotel and had some snacks, and just chatted with everybody. That was pretty much the extent of that. So this is a nice little shot. And also, more specifically, Emily's outfit here is actually one of the unused concept arts, or one of the original concept arts for Nami that Oda drew. Now, obviously, Nami in the story that we know and love does not have a badass, mechanical automail arm and a huge battle axe as her main weapon, but this was one of the original ideas for Nami, and I love how they use that here with like the striped legging that goes all the way up, and then another one that's just like a little sock there, and then the boots and the shirt, and everything's kind of lined up perfectly. Interestingly enough, also, this design would be used by Oda much later for Girth's character. So Girth, who is the giant that Big Mom befriended way back in her backstory, and then grew up to become the doctor of the new giant warrior pirates, headed up by Hiruden and Rode and Goldberg and Stanson and everybody. That is kind of Nami's initial design that Oda just kind of repurposed for her character, because she doesn't have a cool automail arm, but she uses like a giant battle axe as her weapon. That's kind of her thing. So the design is very similar there. So I really like that shot. This is just a shot of Emily and Taz that I thought was really cute. Them just laughing together and just, I don't know what they're watching. Also, I love the hoops. I don't know. I hope they explain what the hoops are for on Nami's pants. Just like you see them in the anime and the manga. They're hoops. I don't know. Does she like clip things to the hoops? Are they like key rings? I don't know. I kind of wish the hoops will be explained. It's such a random thing, but I like. This is obviously from Arlong Park as well, because Emily is wearing Luffy's hat, so clearly that. But I like that. I like that shot. Okay, this is the casting for Usopp's family. So Yasopp, Banchina, both Usopp as he is in the story, played by Jacob Romero-Gibson, but also when he is a child, played by Kevin Sala. We also have Stavel Mark playing Yasopp. We're actually going to scene with him later in the behind the scenes. We're going to see what Yasopp looks like. And Shantae Granger playing Banchina. Sorry if I mispronounced anybody's name here. But yeah, it's a nice, happy family. I don't think anything bad will happen to any of these characters whatsoever. Actually, you know what? In terms of backstories, Usopp probably has the happiest one out of all of the Straw Hats, and his is still pretty sad. His mother passes away, and his father leaves to go be a pirate, so Usopp's essentially just an orphan being raised by the village. But when you compare him to, like, Robin's backstory, Brooke's backstory, I guess Jinbei, now that he's a Straw Hat, you could look into that a little bit, like Jinbei's backstory. Jinbei had loving parents, I think, or was Jinbei an orphan growing up in the Fishman district? I'm not really sure, but yeah, out of all the Straw Hats backstories, I would say Usopp's is one of the happiest, and it's still pretty sad as well. But great casting here. Okay, here we go. Oh my god. All right, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Casting is on point, but there's some casting that is absolutely like 100% chef's kiss perfection. And that is Craig Fairbrass playing Zeph. Oh my god, look at that. That is Zeph. That is 100% perfect casting. I don't care, all right? This is Zeph, and he's about to wreck your shit, okay? Obviously, this is at the Baratier. This set, I'm really excited to finally get to the Baratier set. There was a lot of stuff in the behind-the-scenes video that I've linked below that includes that Baratier, like the Straw Hats initially walking into the Baratier. There was also, and I didn't take a still shot of it, I should have, there's a character, it seems like maybe a waiter or a host or something that's like showing the Straw Hats to their table, and clearly is a member of the Baratier, clearly works for the Baratier, but is also a fishman. And this character is not in the manga or the anime at all. So I like that idea that they're introducing the concept of fishmen and merfolk earlier on in the story. Also, from what we saw from the trailer, Arlong will end up attacking the Baratier, like he's going to be there with Karubi. So maybe the fishman that's there is like the first fishman that the Straw Hats are actually going to meet. And then he explains a little bit about fishmen and merfolk, and maybe even Fishman Island a little bit or something. And then Arlong's going to attack, and then maybe he might, have an interaction with this employee at Baratier. I'm not really sure. But, dude, Craig as Zeph. Love the outfit. Love the facial hair. The braided mustache. It all looks great. It looks perfect, okay? Yes. Now, speaking of casting, I want to apologize to Milton Shaw here because my last live action video that I did about this series, I mentioned that it was the response to the trailer. I did not see Krieg in the trailer at all. Instead, it was Arlong and Karubi that were at the Baratier. So that made me think, like, did they just write out Don Krieg's character? And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, well, they might have done that just for the sake of, like, you know, moving the plot along, because they only have, like, 8 episodes to work with. So if you're going to cut out one of the villains from the East, you know, you can't cut out Buggy. You really can't cut out, you definitely can't cut out Arlong. You can't cut out Morgan. You know, you also can't cut out, you know, Kuro. But Krieg, maybe. But a lot of people corrected me that, yeah, Milton Shaw is actually playing Krieg. And I guess I checked the cast list before I made that video, and he was not listed. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess he's not casted yet. But no, they went ahead and told me. So I want to apologize to Milton there. He's done a lot of, like, period piece stuff, and I checked out some stuff. He read, like, an audiobook of his that he wrote. He's from South Africa, and he wrote a book about his, like, time, like, living there and stuff. And I'll leave a link to that below too in the description. So yeah, all the links down below. But yeah, Milton playing Krieg, I think this could work. He looks pretty serious there in that shot. I've seen images of him where he's just like smiling. He seems like a really nice guy, genuinely, but I think he could portray Krieg's character. I did not see any casting for Geen, so I don't know if that means whatever, but I'm assuming if Krieg is going to be in this, that Geen's also going to be in this too. So correct me on that if I'm wrong. I was mostly just taking the cast list from the wiki, so that's just where that's coming from. I also thought, like, it's possible that they could really slim down Krieg's, you know, influence here, where they could maybe build up Krieg as, like, oh my god, he's, you know, pirate captain Don Krieg of the pirate armada, you know what I mean? And he has a bounty of 17 million, and he's really scary, and he's really dangerous, and he shows up at the Baratier, and everything seems to be going like it is in the manga at first, and then Arlong shows up and just wrecks Krieg's shit. And then it's like, oh, wow, this guy's even more dangerous, you know? So it might be something along those lines. I don't know, but he is going to be in the series. Okay, what's next? Okay, so this is a shot from the behind the scenes that was released earlier today, actually. So this is Helmeppo, and I'm really liking Helmeppo's character. They gave him the longer hair right out of the gate, so he does have that hairstyle later on in the manga, like he has that right now, kind of tied back in a ponytail. But I really like the fact that they kept this instead of the bowl cut. The bowl cut, I mean, either or could work, but I still think Helmeppo looks just as, like, entitled and pompous as he does in the manga and the anime right here. He has a line where he's basically making fun of Zoro. He's looking at Zoro and he's like, 3 swords. Oh, how droll. That's not actually how he talks in the trailer. He's played by Aidan Scott, and just from the way he's talking and the way he's portraying the character, I think he's going to have just the perfect amount of, like, the stuck-upness of Helmeppo. Next up here is the shot of Usopp, so I'm assuming this is the Red Force right here. So this is Shanks' crew coming out from below decks. You actually see some crates over here that have marine on them. So that makes sense because, for one thing, they're pirates, but also, you know, what happens beforehand of the red hair crew attacking a government ship and getting the Gumu Gumu no Mi, which ends up at Fuchsia for Luffy to consume. So this could be interesting actually, now that from what we know in the manga, you know, okay, they're probably maybe just not even going to address that. They might just keep it the same way as they do in the manga, where they're like, we attacked an enemy ship and that was it. You know what I mean? Like, they might not actually show the scene of them attacking. Maybe, are we going to see who's who in this? I highly doubt. But here's, you know, Stavel Mark playing Usopp. He's got the bandana. I think it looks really cool. And, you know, obviously there's some other characters of Shanks' crew that are, like, filled out here. So we're going to see, like, Lucky Roo and Ben Beckman, and, like, maybe Lime Juice or somebody like that. But there's also going to be, like, I think a lot more characters just in the background. Because we got to see a lot of the characters from the Red Hair crew early on in One Piece, but they just weren't named. We haven't, like, had a whole roster of Shanks' crew. It's relatively small compared to other Yonko fleets. But still, there's some people that are, like, unnamed that we just don't know about on Shanks' crew yet. But yeah, Usopp looks neat. Okay, here's showcasing some of the bounty posters here, the wanted posters, and I really like this because the way they take pictures of things in the One Piece world is usually like using visual den mushi. So they're psychic snails that have little like mechanical attachments to them that you can like plug and play and then like take pictures of things. So the fact that it comes out very grainy and weird and distorted, like some like weird filter is placed over it, that does make sense to me. It wouldn't be crystal clear. Like, how do you exactly convey an image that's being taken by a psychic snail in this world? You know what I mean? I think the best way to really do it is just with this really weird like filter over it. Like, it looks a little bit like, yeah, distorted. I think it fits. I think it does, because it's like a biological creature that's taking this picture. So we have Arlong and Buggy. Their bounties are correct at 15-20 million, of course. But then we have Mihawk, Dracul Mihawk, and we actually might see his wanted poster. That's something cool, because we didn't see his wanted poster at all up until like recently in the manga when it was reactivated. So bounty canceled by order of the world government, indicating, of course, he is a warlord. He is essentially a privateer, and so he is a pirate given government protection, and he's like sanctioned to be a pirate, okay, to work for them, okay? So this works. The distortion, I think, adds to it, honestly. So this right here, this is, I believe, part of the merchandise that's going to be sold along with the show. Obviously, there's going to be merch. I think they specified on their Twitter this might not be the final version of this that might actually show up in the live action, but it's the essential idea. And we even saw this in the initial trailer of when Luffy and Kobe were looking at that bulletin board in the town, like Shell's town. You saw all the different, like, yeah, there were wanted posters and stuff, like we saw Cavendish and Bellamy and Foxy, but we also saw like government propaganda posters everywhere, you know, and stuff like, hey, have pirates attacked your hometown and killed your entire family? Come on down at 7 o'clock on Oak Street. We have a support group, you know? The kind of stuff that, like, fills out the world building of this. Like, yeah, it would make sense that there would be, like, support groups and stuff like that. But I really like this one. If they ever sell this, I would totally buy this. Be aware of pirate activity. They're watching you. And then the level of dramatic irony is great here, because it's like, be aware, they're watching you, and then paid for by the world government, unity of over 170 nations in the 4 seas and the Grand Line. I love that. Where the government is, of course, going to be making it out to be like, oh no, the pirates are the one that run a corrupt government that rule over all of you. Better watch out for those pirates, not the unified world government. You know, like, so I really like that. If that's ever sold, I would totally buy that. Okay, here is just a collection of some stuff that was sent to Netflix via Oda, and then some stuff that was sent to Oda via Netflix. Now, this is a compilation of stuff that was done over the course of several years, so I don't want you to think this was all sent at once. Remember, the live action started in 2016, as like that was the beginning of this. So this is the course of the last, oh my god, like 7 years or some such that this was sent. So this is the stuff like Oda sent to Netflix. We need to consider the worst case scenario. I can't say something is good when it isn't. This is very good, but we can do even better. The fans trust me, so I can't lie to them. We actually found our real-life Luffy. I'm shocked. I'm touched by the level of One Piece sprinkled throughout every frame. So, and let's make something great. So I don't know, like, the full context of all this. Keep in mind, this was stuff that Oda had said to Netflix over the course of 7 years and compiled in one little tweet. So, you know, I'm not sure, like, when he says, this is very good, but we can do even better, I'm not even sure what scene or what particular thing he's referencing there. But it just goes to show the level of input that Oda had in this. Oda did not play a hands-off thing here where he just signed his baby away. Like, all right, I'm just going to sign away One Piece. Here you go. Make whatever you want with it. You know, and just slap a producer credit on for Oda and then lickety-split, that's done. Oda has taken time out of his busy schedule to make sure this is the best it could possibly be. And I'm glad he was making these concerns with it, you know? Like, hey, this is good. We can do better, you know? And it's like, hey, if I'm not a fan of something, I'm just going to tell you that I'm not, you know? And I think the staff, the writers, everybody involved really takes Oda's word as like, that is the word of the man that literally created the series, so we should take that into consideration. to Oda from Netflix. A one-to-one reenactment is impossible. I'm going to get back to that in a moment. Live action adaptation isn't about replication, it's expression. We're not at all satisfied yet either. We want to rewrite the history of live action adaptations. We have two goals: to not betray the fans and to have the show be loved by those who don't know One Piece. Who don't yet know One Piece from Netflix. Let's make something great. Okay, I think that's all I have here. So let's focus a little bit on this. A one-to-one reenactment is impossible. I agree. I completely agree. I've seen some comments from people and a general reaction of, I shouldn't say general reaction, a reaction from some people that really want this to be a one-to-one reenactment of the anime. And all I can say to you is you are going to be, if that is the standard you are putting this to, you are going to be sorely, sorely upset when this is released. There's really nothing that, it's not going to make you happy if that is your standard. And this goes back to what I said in the last video. Like, I'm just saying this as if you are someone that is genuinely upset that Sanji does not have his swirly eyebrow, or Usopp does not have his long nose, or Luffy is wearing shoes instead of sandals. If those kind of changes really upset you, this isn't going to be a good time for you. You're not going to enjoy this, all right? It's probably going to really, like, every little scene is probably going to bother you if that's your standard. I don't think they should be held to that standard, and I think the majority of people that support this project understand it's not going to be a one-to-one reenactment. It is a completely different medium. You are using, you can't, I really think it's impossible to do something like that. Take something just from a manga panel or an episode of an anime and just shot for shot recreate everything. I would say that is effectively impossible. And if you try to go down that road, it's just going to lead to failure. Okay? So the fact that this was realized early on, I think is a good thing. All right? Now, as for the next thing, live-action adaptation isn't about replication, it's about expression. I agree with that as well. There have been a few attempts, we should say, about trying to take anime into either live-action film or live-action television shows. In the case with Netflix, probably the most notable example of recent years is Cowboy Bebop, which lasted one season and did not go over very well. I think there is a line of logic that is like, maybe that anime should never even be attempted to go into live action, or rather live action, anime can never be live action. We've tried this before several times. It's never really worked well. It's never clicked. Therefore, it's impossible. I would not say that. I would say from what we've learned about this experience with, like, Cowboy Bebop and going back even further, I shouldn't even really use Dragon Ball Evolution because that's something that's, okay. But you know what I mean. Live action adaptations of anime haven't really been that great in the past. There's been a few exceptions, like the Rurouni Kenshin movies, actually, that Makenya was in, but aside from that, nothing that really blows your head off crazy, okay? I would say it's not impossible. I would say it's very difficult. And they are going about this a different way. This is not the same exact methodology that was used to make Cowboy Bebop. This is something different. Oda is heavily involved with this project. We have to see how it goes. That's the case, all right? We've proven that it's very difficult to have a live-action adaptation, but maybe it's not impossible. I want there to be a good one. I genuinely do. I want there to be a live-action version of an anime. It doesn't even need to be One Piece, but I hope it's this one because One Piece is obviously one of my favorites. But I want there to be a live-action adaptation of an anime that does a justice, tells the story very, very well, and I could be like, yes! It's possible. They did it. It's not infeasible. Infeasible, that's a word. It's not impossible. They did it. They managed it, you know? That would be something I would love to see, okay? I think I'm good with this, so I'm going to just go back to regular video here. Before I go, I want to talk about something else here, and I was just thinking about this last night, actually. To the crowd that says, like, you know, anime should never be live action. If you're somebody that just, like, completely, like, you know what? It should never be attempted. It should just be kept in the medium that it is, manga, anime, and then that's where it should stay. Okay, it should never be live action, okay? And I'm sure you probably maybe have a similar thought process for like video games. Like there should never, like, just because you have a video game that's really good doesn't mean it should be live action, you know, that kind of stuff. Like crossing mediums and stuff like that doesn't really work. Just stay away from that. So what's the purpose of this live action? You know, what is the purpose of this? Throughout my life, I've encountered a lot of people that are only receptive to certain types of media. And when it comes to animation in particular, might not be very receptive to that. They're just more receptive to live action, to real life actors, because at the end of the day, we're humans. So when we watch humans on the big screen, you know, actors portraying characters make us feel emotions like, it's like joy or fear or, oh my God, the drama here, or tension and everything like that. To use an example here, I'm going to use my parents. Sorry, Mom and Dad, but I want to use my parents here for this. My mom in particular never really cared much for animation, all right? You know, my parents watched cartoons and stuff with me growing up because that was, you know, I was a little kid and I would watch like Courage the Cowardly Dog or like Billy and Mandy or something. And they would watch cartoons with me, but it was not there. They never really watched it because they wanted to, you know what I mean? And my mom in particular is somebody that, and when I got older, I would show her various like anime, you know, like, oh, maybe you will like this or whatever. And it just didn't click for her. And I realized this isn't something just specific with my mom or my dad. It's just, in general, maybe some of the older crowd that, because like my parents grew up in like the 50s and 60s, growing up in that time period, animation might just be synonymous with cartoons, which is synonymous with, like, that's intended for little kids. And, you know, cartoons back in their day didn't really have much continuity or real character development or anything like that to really make you feel for the characters. You know, my dad and my mom, they grew up with cartoons like Tom and Jerry and Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny. And don't get me wrong, I love a good Bugs Bunny cartoon and all that kind of jazz. But at the end of the day, it wasn't really the same kind of animation that we would get later. It's not the same level as like something that tries to tell a serious story, okay? So it might be something like that. You know, they grew up with cartoons like that, and so they just don't take animation maybe quite as seriously. Or it's not even like they can't take it seriously. It might just be a situation where they just can't find that same connection. You know, no matter how good the animation is, no matter how well the characters' facial animations are done and the voice acting and the music, there's a disconnect. It's just like, no, that's not a real person. That's a drawing. I'm not going to feel the same level of tension from this scene in animation that I am from a live action performance, okay? And I'm also not saying, like, if that is you, if that's something, like, I'm not going to say that as a negative. I'm not going to say that, like, oh, how dare you not be able to understand the glory of animation or anything like that. Like, some people just like, I just don't really care for it, you know? And that, I think, is the purpose of this live action, to expand the audience of One Piece, to take somebody, because I can tell you right now, like, my mom and my dad know what I, you know, do on YouTube with One Piece and everything, and I've explained to them, like, the general concept of this. The only way I could ever see my parents ever enjoying this story would be in a live-action medium. I don't see my dad sitting down and reading manga. I don't see my mom watching episodes of the One Piece anime. I could see them, and I've even told them about it, like, it's getting a Netflix, it's a live-action, you know, I'll check to see if it's good, and then maybe I'll recommend it, check it out, you know? But those are my parents, but I'm sure there's a lot of other people in the world that are similar in mindset to that, where it has to be live action or you just don't feel it. Oh, and by the way, I don't want to say my parents, like, hated animation or something like that. Growing up, I remember my mom liked watching Johnny Bravo with me. She liked Johnny Bravo. She found that pretty funny. And my dad, I remember watching Samurai Jack with him on, like, Saturday nights on, like, Nami or whatever. And I think my dad was fairly invested in the story of, like, Samurai Jack. So it's like maybe particular kind of cartoons, but they would always view them as like, this is meant for little kids to watch. This isn't meant for like adults to have a sense of like drama or, you know, action or anything like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would say that overall is the goal of the live action. We'll see if it succeeds. And, yeah, that's the video. I don't have any xenomorph facts for today, so next time will be that. And we're almost done with animal facts. I have letter Y and Z already planned. I know which animals I'll be tackling for them, and then we'll finally be done. Thanks for watching, everybody. Signing out.